Can we Metal Gear fans at least agree on one thing? No matter how we rank the Metal Gear games, the whole Metal Gear series is simply fantastic. It's one of the greatest gifts to the gaming community, and it's a big reason for why I fell in love with the video game medium in the first place. Even what you might subjectively consider the worst Metal Gear game in the series is still a pretty damn good game. What I especially love about the series is that every game is so diverse and offers something unique. It's not the same yearly release shit like Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty. Every entry has some aspect to it that feels fresh beyond just improved graphics and improved gameplay mechanics. There is thoughtful and passionate care put into each Metal Gear game, which is why they all take years to make. Now, the uniqueness of each entry and the amount of time you have to wait to get a new one meant that there was that much more room for disappointment. This is why I think Metal Gear Solid 2 was so polarizing among fans all those years ago, and a part of why Metal Gear Solid 5 was met with mixed reception from fans. But my point is that no matter what Metal Gear game you think about, even if it was disappointing on some level, there is something stellar to find about each and every one of them. Not one entry is perfect, and depending on what you're looking for in a Metal Gear game, some entries will appeal to you more than others. But this is one of those video game series that's so diverse and goddamn good that you will see a ton of variety when it comes to ranked lists from fans. And that's what really pleasantly surprised me most about reading the comments in the Metal Gear games ranking video that I made. For every person that disagreed that Metal Gear Solid 5 shouldn't be in the top 3, there was another person who said that the game more than deserved the spot. For every person who didn't enjoy Metal Gear Solid 2, there's another who find it to be their favorite in the series. For every person who didn't like Metal Gear Solid 4's long cutscenes, there's another who absolutely loved it. Hell, for every person who clearly thinks Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is clearly the best entry in the series, there's another who wholeheartedly believes that Metal Gear Solid 1 deserves that crown. I've even seen people assert that the less commercially popular Peace Walker is their favorite in the whole series. When opinions are this diverse in a video game series, you know you've got something special. Sure, there are aspects of Metal Gear games that I can be disappointed in or not enjoy, but there isn't a single canon game in the series that I dislike or hate. And to me, that's the hallmark of a consistently brilliant series. Now, in case you didn't watch my previous video, my ranked list for the Metal Gear games goes as follows from worst to best. From last place to first place, we have Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, and finally, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Right off the bat, I know there's going to be a group of you who's going to disagree with some aspect of this list, but again, that's the beauty of this series. These ranked lists are so varied from person to person. When almost every canon game in the series has an excuse or a reason for being able to be a candidate for a person's top game in the series, you know you've got a special collection of games. But you know what? I would still like to further elaborate on why my ranked list ended up the way it did. And this isn't me reasoning with those who disagree with my list or apologizing for my opinion. This is my personal final list, and no amount of complaining will change that. I could go ahead and lie to you right now and be like, yeah, no, Metal Gear Solid 5, actually I'd put it in 4th or whatever, if that makes you feel better, but that would be a lie. And maybe that's something you can't understand, but I do. I understand why this game is so special to me, and in the end, that's all that matters. And honestly, who cares what I think? If you have your reasons for why a certain Metal Gear game is more special to you than others, good on you. Just you do you. Now, if you want a really detailed explanation of my ranked list, obviously watch my ranked list video. But today I want to discuss a key component that goes a long way in deciding my affinity towards one game. And that component is feeling. It's this very vague and subjective thing, almost like a gut instinct. But when I judge a game, it's not always about breaking down individual components like gameplay, graphics, and story, and trying to put a score on things. More important to me is just how a game generally made me feel throughout the whole experience, and whether this feeling was something that resonated with me. And I think on some level, feeling is an important factor and it's going to play out differently for each individual because different things resonate with different people. So my hope is that by expressing how I felt in the moment about each game, it'll somehow help you further understand where I'm coming from with my own personal Metal Gear ranked list. I'm gonna go from first place to last place, starting with Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And this is the game that made me feel the most variety and intensity of emotions. There was just a little bit of everything, you know? There was fun, there was thrill, tension, surprise, doubt, anger, joy, and by game's end, my heart broke for Big Boss as I watched the normally stoic character just completely break and finally shed a tear for his diseased mentor. From beginning to end, Snake Eater was just a roller coaster of emotions that no other Metal Gear game in the series offers. And this kind of emotional resonance to me is extremely important for a video game. For Metal Gear Solid 5, the thing that resonated with me most above all else was my constant surprise in the crazy things that I could pull off. And all other entries in the series, I feel like mostly you're just kind of treading along a designated path and witnessing cool shit happen. But Metal Gear Solid 5 is the only game in which the cool shit happens because of me and my actions. The game presents some interesting scenarios, it's got systems upon systems working together, and then it throws the player in this world, and you do your thing, and crazy shit just happens sometimes. And you realize this wasn't scripted, this was just all you, the world and the circumstances revolving around you and your actions. As cheesy as this sounds, some of the best stories in this game are the ones that I created for myself. And I particularly remember during the Metal Gear Solid 5 review event, which is where I first played the full game for the first time, just talking to people around me about it and how we tackled specific missions and the excitement and the thrill of how we did our own thing and still managed to achieve the same goal. And this feeling of me being the one forging my own path is something that may not resonate with everyone or something that you might not care about as much as I do. And I can respect that, but for me, that was an incredible feeling that no other Metal Gear game offered, and it was profound enough to propel this game to number 2 on my personal Metal Gear ranked list. That may sound asinine to some of you, but we have our different feelings, we have our different preferences, we have different things that resonate with us, and I can't help how I feel. This just completely, utterly resonated with me. Next up is Metal Gear Solid, my first Metal Gear love. Look, I love mystery stories, so you can bet your ass I was constantly enthralled throughout this whole 10 to 15 hours experience. There was just a constant feeling of paranoia, doubt, suspicion, as well as the constant stream of surprises that really blew me away at the time. Metal Gear Solid is just a no-fuss, no-frills, fantastic mystery story with a lot at stake, featuring a fantastic cast of characters, and it's just memorable all around. While it wasn't the emotional roller coaster ride that Metal Gear Solid 3 was, I remember being utterly intoxicated with Shadow Moses' atmosphere and my curiosity to unravel the story's mysteries and conspiracies. Moving on, we have Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, and the one word that I can use to describe this game here is fun. It doesn't have the deepest story or the deepest stealth mechanics, but sometimes less is just more. I was less blown away by specific aspects of the game, and more by how just well-rounded the whole package is. This is a Metal Gear game in which there was no part of it that I didn't enjoy, and that featured no glaring flaws that I can really point out, except that maybe it's a little old. It's the perfect 2D Metal Gear game, and it makes me wish that Kojima would have made more 2D entries. Then we have Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, which just blew my fucking mind to smithereens when I first played it. The feeling of mind-boggling surrealism that this game evoked is unlike anything I've ever experienced. And it's also something that no other Metal Gear game achieves. There were some gameplay segments that I didn't enjoy in this game, like the swimming portions and the Emma escort mission stuff, but that doesn't diminish the fact that the enhanced stealth mechanics and the mind-blowing narrative makes Metal Gear Solid 2 the most impactful game in the series, I would say. It was the kind of surrealism and confusion that only made me love the series more. Moving down the list, we have Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, whose intoxicating sense of epic scale is just, it has no equal. It is just one epic moment after another, and it's this freight train that never stops. This game alone features many of the most memorable and incredible moments in the Metal Gear series. What makes it rank lower on my list, though, is the general lack of cohesion on both story and gameplay fronts. I had an awful time getting through some gameplay segments, Chapter 3 in particular, with its really just dull tailing mission. And there were clearly too many narrative threads to wrap up in this one game. And not all these threads came together seamlessly. But make no mistake, Metal Gear Solid 4 is a beautiful, jaw-dropping, unforgettable love letter to Metal Gear fans, and it is just, it is pure bliss. For Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, I would say that the feeling I most remember is addiction. With its vast array of bite-sized missions to complete, a mother base to build up, soldiers to recruit, items and weapons to unlock. This game was just really hard to put down. I wasn't really captivated by its narrative, nor was I fond of the disconnected bite-sized missions, but what the game offered as a portable experience was entrancing, to say the least. Now, playing the original Metal Gear was an interesting experience. It was like going through a photo album and seeing baby photos of someone you love. You look at it and kind of go, aw, and you come to understand just how much this entity has evolved from infancy. There's no denying that this is Metal Gear at its most basic, but it was the start of something beautiful and life-changing. So aside from being just generally alright and enjoyable, from that perspective, this game kind of resonated with me. Second to last is Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, which was like eating this delicious, albeit expensive, appetizer that made me crave the main course all the more, even if the main course wasn't due for a while. It did a great job of setting up Phantom Pain, but I wouldn't call it a great standalone experience, which is how it was sold. But still, this game is memorable in that it made me crave. That's the biggest feeling from Ground Zeroes, this crave for more. Finally, we have Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, and the reason this game is last on my list is because it's the one game that didn't particularly make me feel anything too strongly. I thought it was really good for a PSP game, and I really loved Calling to the Night as a main theme, but that's about all I can remember. Apart from that, it's just a pretty good game that doesn't really leave any lasting impressions. So yeah, I would say that about summarizes the feelings that I had for each Metal Gear game at the time. And I don't know if this helps in any way for you to understand where I'm coming from, but this all makes sense to me in my head. In the end, every Metal Gear game offers something so uniquely incredible that it's easy to justify any one of them as being the best in the series. There is seldom a Metal Gear ranked list that I look at and go, well, that just doesn't make sense. Because there's enough variety in the Metal Gear series to be able to appeal to a wide range of gamers. It's just a matter of preference, what aspects and feelings resonate with you the most, and what you look for in a Metal Gear game. So yeah, there you go. How I felt about each Metal Gear game, how it could have all contributed to my current ranked list, and why I admire the distinct flavors that each entry has to offer. What are your thoughts on the matter? What are the feelings that you felt as you played through each Metal Gear game that defined your own personal favorites? Let us know in the comments below, and to be further updated on further video game news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!